one is the water, but before I get to the water, it says, and you said it's temporary, these are temporary, they're capped and then they're regulated. How long are they regulated for afterwards?
Well, they're regulated for the life of the well.
And who pays for that? State agencies, it said.
Well,
So
there's permit fees.
That's pretty much taxpayers if it's a state
No,
agency.
that's a pay. Those are all paid by fees. There's enormous fees paid for that, enormous fees. And that's how all these programs are by the gas companies. Those are. That's how those costs are paid.
It said it was to be regulated by state agencies. All I know is when I got my tax bill and it said 6% went to Summit County, I can't afford to let the state pay for something.
But it's the same way as when you
50 years or something.
It's the same way as when you build a house, you get a building permit. The cost of that building permit is the cost of paying the building inspector for inspecting your, processing the paperwork and inspecting your construction. It's the same process. So when the building inspector comes out and inspects your home as you're building it, that is not taxpayer money. Except, it's a pass-through. It's the building permit fee that pays for that, and it's the same thing with the gas.
So how do they know how long it's going to? How do they correlate the fee to cover an indefinite amount of time? Like, how do they know how much time they're going to need to regulate it so that they can approve an appropriate
Because
fee?
the fees every year are set based on what the cost of the program is.
They pay an annual fee?
I'm not sure about that, but I know the fees that are paid up front will be adjusted each year depending on what's happening.
So if they find that they need to regulate it longer, they'll adjust it?
Well, you'd be adjusting it for new people coming into the program. So I believe there are some annual fees, but I don't want to be on record on that. I'd have to try to answer that for you. If you give me your,
that's the main thing I'm thinking about, because there's a lot of wells going on.
Give me your number afterwards, and I'll try to find the answer for you.
That was one question, because that's kind of not temporary to me.
Okay. Go
But
ahead.
also I wanted to ask, I know you say Chesapeake, they're reputable, they're a good company. Now, what if they sell their company to somebody else who doesn't have such good practices?
Well, generally what's happening.
How is that going to affect?
Well, generally what's happening is the smaller companies over time tend to get bought out by bigger companies. The bigger companies are, I was out to visit Shell in Pittsburgh last month, end of January. I was super impressed. I mean, Shell is got one terrific operation. I mean,
Not like ExxonMobil, right?
What's that?
Not like ExxonMobil.
Well, no, I think ExxonMobil's pretty good too. I've watched these bigger companies, and I'm telling you, the stuff that the procedures that they apply, and the standards that they uphold, and the extra effort that they put in is pretty amazing. And as a matter of fact, you say to yours, you almost come to the question, well, is this they can spend that kind of money, whereas the little guys can't, and you can argue that both ways. You don't necessarily want to create an industry where only the biggest of the biggest can operate. On the other hand, the biggest of the biggest can afford to spend money to do it properly, and that's what you see with, for example, Shell. I mean, they are spending a lot of money right now to be able to use acid mine drainage water, for example, for frac water, which is a win-win for everybody, because it's that's a real.
That's another thing, that frac water.
Yeah.
Did they change that? Because for a while the DEC gave them like carte blanche. They didn't have to even tell the DEC what was in that.
No, for example, the SGIS demands disclosure. Plus, all the companies are voluntarily disclosing now. If you go to fracfocus.org,
they are disclosing.
If you go to fracfocus.org, check it out. It's a very interesting site. You can check out for hundreds and thousands of wells are already on there with every single item listed in the volumes and everything else. So I would encourage fracfocus.org.
I actually wanted to get baseline for my well.
Right.
And I called up the health department, and they have not a clue what I should test for so that I could have baseline.
Well, if there's a well being drilled.
They told me they haven't a clue.
Well, it depends on who you talk to. There's a couple ways to deal with that. This is a really good question. We'll probably wrap it up here shortly.
I think everybody should get.
Well, no, they should. They should. Absolutely. There's two ways this gets handled. One is if there's a well being drilled anywhere near you, your water will be tested if you want to test it. And it won't cost you anything. Chesapeake, for example, tests within 4,000 feet of anywhere they drill. They test within 4,000 feet, and it's a complete battery of tests, everything. which costs them a lot of money. I'm talking thousands of dollars. And they'll do that for everybody within 4,000 feet. I believe.
How far do they drill, though? They go horizontal, how many feet do they go?
Oh, they can.
8,000, I thought it said 8,000
Well,
feet.
it goes beyond, we're talking about beyond the.
And horizontally, though?
They can go, a couple thousand feet, yeah, sure.
So they could go
Even
over
more,
the 4,000
even
feet?
more.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but the
The
testing
testing
goes,
should
the
really
testing
do
goes
that.
beyond, the testing goes beyond, is what I'm
Is that
saying.
testing third party or
So-
by Chesapeake?
Well, it's always third party.
Okay.
It's always third party. The other way I would encourage you to do, if you go to, there's some sites, for example, the one that comes to mind is, do you remember what Brian Orm's, I don't remember the name of it. I think it's the Citizens Water Database. Now, this is Pennsylvania, but there's similar things for New York. So, but if you go to Wilkes University, and type in Citizens Water Database, you'll find some information on that. And there are similar types of groups that will help you do that and get it done here in New York as well. So there's different ways to approach it.
Chesapeake, they should really put that on their website.
Well,
They should really do that, make that available, like, for people, what they need.
it's part of their procedure to do the testing when they do it.
I know, but what if you're not within the 4,000 feet?
Well, they're not gonna pay for the whole world. They're gonna do it within
No, I
areas
know,
that.
but they should have, like, what would you need to be tested for, like?
That
what
may.
chemicals they use, they're the ones who do the
We may be able to
chemicals,
get
they
you.
would
We can tell you that kind of stuff. Yes.
Tom, Cornell Extension has a whole list of different things that.
Okay, that's a good point.
Go and test for
know.
water.
Cornell Extension has that?
Yep.
For-
They had a meeting down in the town of Calhoun just here
Yeah,
a
that's-
couple of weeks ago.
Yeah,
And they got a whole list of all the different ones. There's a real good one down in Bloomingburg, according to that.
Yeah, the Orange County Analytical, but you still need to know what you
This
want to
is
test
Orange
it
County, this
for.
is Sullivan County.
I know, but the one in Orange County has the water testing, that's probably what they want. I'm just
Well,
saying
there's
that's
some
what-
here too, but they
Yeah.
say that
Let's,
one's down here.
let's,